deal with these challenges. Unfortunately, and that will be for economists to go back and check it out, we were somehow not very clearly defined as an economy in all these policies. It is now that through the National Development Plan that there's some sense of placement of where we are. We were just generally there. We also tried a few combinations over the years of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. I remember at some point we were Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Technology, and I think we moved from there to Department of Arts and Culture. I'm told now that we will be adding education into that, which makes sense, you know. There will be Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and Education. We'll see what the new administration will do. We don't know who will be in the new administration. We hope they will be able to better guide us. The South African economy, however, in spite of all these challenges, has managed somehow to organically find itself, because it is reported that in this industry, we are contributing close to 170 billion, maybe now, to 200 billion to the GDP of this country, which moves around 3 to 4%, I'm told. But we have economists who will be able to very clearly speak to those figures. Now, if we are able to do that in all this confusion, in all these fights, we are still able to contribute 200 billion to the economy. Now imagine what we can do, Chair, when we are more organized and we are more intentional and we have a leadership that is listening to us and is also learning from other spaces around the world. I do not want to also, as I spoke about what is happening around the world, because we must always learn from that as part of the global economy. I do not want, Chair, to bore you with the United Nations sustainable goals. The goals which, of course, 5 of them in those sustainable goals of the 17 speak to our industry. We are part of that global economy, we are part of the global agenda. We are signatories to this, to the United Nations. I will briefly talk to the more recent covenant of the cultural and creative industry. The Bridgetown Covenant of 2022, adopted at the 15th session of the United Nations Conference of Trade and Development, UNCTAD, says the creative economy is one of the most or the fastest growing economies. Do we know that as South Africa? Do we understand that? Do we take it serious? But as signatories, I'm sure we can be able to go back and say, but what are these people saying? I guess it is this dialogue that must interrogate some of the resolutions of that 15th session of UNCTAD. Because the 15th session mandated UNCTAD to do a few things, which I think we must also do. It says, UNCTAD must support developing countries in diversifying production and exports in this creative economy. They must analyze the creative economy. They must provide insight into the global economy as a means to support countries in exploiting its potential to the sector. Furthermore, the United Nations then went further and said, in the resolution 74 of 198, that the United Nations of the International Year of the Creative Economy, which I think was in 21, which was declared the International Year of the Creative Economy, said the United Nations need to closely monitor the creative economy and annually inform the UN General Assembly of the implementation plan that they have through UNESCO. So it means the United Nations is keeping a very, very close eye on this economy because they understand its importance. And I hope through discussions that we have here, we will be able to do that and try to zoom into that. And I'm glad, again, that we have the media to help us on the path. We have been all over. We are part we are an industry, and as an industry, we are part, in a way, to the Department of Trade and Industry. But unfortunately, some of the challenges, or among some of the challenges that we face, is that the Department of Trade and Industry has kicked us out, in a way, because there was a unit in there that deals with the cultural and creative industries economy. and they shut it down. Now, we don't know as an industry who we are supposed to talk to, because we are an industry, and we are a creative industry. The Department of Arts and Culture deals mostly with development. But when we come to economy, that's where we belong. So they kicked us out and kicked us to the Department of Small Business. I don't think we stayed long in there, even though Mr. Masoga is still there. They shut us down also in the Department of Small Business. That unit that Mr. Masoga and them went with to the Department of Small Business, they shut it down. We know now that there's talk about small business being the center and the backbone of the economy. And if you close us in the small business, it means you also do not have a focused strategy on how you're going to develop a noisy small business as a crafter and so on. And so we have a lot of them, studios, small studios, artists and all that. So we still do not have that. We are not even consulted in most of the things. For instance, we know that cultural diplomacy is important. The Department of International Relations do as they please without us. We know that just a few months ago, the minister also said, we really don't need more artists in this country. In the middle of what the United Nations is guiding all other international communities to do. We don't need more, but she's not alone in that. The Department of Labor, in the recent critical skills report, does not even place us anywhere in the top 10. So we are not a critical skill. We're not a critical skill as far as they are concerned. But we know that globally, the voice is different. The minister, Tulas and them, still don't recognize us as creatives, as workers, which means we are outside the Labor Relations Act in this country. We are not protected. Maybe they don't know how to deal with us. And through conversations like this, we will be able to help them to deal with us and be able to place us under their protection of the Labor Relations Act. The Department of Education is also having a field day with arts in schools, which we are not part of. Or we are in a way part of that discussion. But let me jump in before Brarems comes in and say, Lisiba, you talk too much. In conclusion, we know through other countries, we know that we contribute 2 billion, but let's look at the country that we really love the most, which is the United States, and what they do with their cultural and creative industries, because we support them through listening to their music the whole day, through buying their clothes, through all sorts of things. The Bloomberg report recently reported that the contribution of art and culture in the US is bigger than the economic output of Sweden and Switzerland. I know the contribution of arts and culture is half the economy of Canada. They contribute over 1.3 trillion to the economy of the United States. They contribute 4.3 to the GDP, 5.2 million jobs are created in that industry. We are still at 1 million. In this country, we are reported to have only 1 million. So they are second to healthcare and retail trade. So the cultural economy is the third largest contributor to the American GDP. So I'm saying today that if we are continue to support them with everything that we do, which is, as I said, their music, the clothes that we buy from them, we should then start thinking, how do we then take all that and bring it back home so that we can grow this economy? This is just in America. Brarams earlier on was talking about another country which is contributing even much more. So we don't even want to go to Asia and the free-flowing clothes that come into this country and are killing our textile economy, our textile industry. So these are some of the challenges that we face, and we hope that through working together with the partners and all of you, through CIFSA and other organizations, we will be able to swing this around and make sure that we activate or ignite the cultural and creative industry and economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Siva. I must confess that you're an artist, because when you could tell that I'm about to come up and move you, you started speaking about being kicked out by other people and thought, I can't kick him out, I can't kick him out. He's been kicked out by so many people, I can't add to the kicking out. Well done there. And I must say also your presentation almost had a tone of, do you know who I am? That's bloody good. So I don't feel bad about not introducing you. You did a great job, my brother. Thank you very much for that. Another round of applause, please. Our next speaker to come up, also to welcome us, hopefully slightly briefer than Lesiva, is Chola Makhamate, who is the chairperson of the Copyright Coalition of South Africa. Chola attended Wits University in Johannesburg, where she graduated with BCom, LLB, and LLM. She subsequently worked as a consultant and worked on and managed projects involving, among others, because when you say involving, it means there's a lot of things that are there, right? Multilateral organizations, provincial and local government. She is an admitted attorney. Now, this is very important to say an admitted attorney, because in this country now, anything goes, right? So we have to qualify things. So she is an admitted attorney of the High Court of South Africa and practiced law at one of the leading firms in the country. She was the CEO of Downtown Music Hub, a non-profit company established by the Department of Arts and Culture to deal with some of the challenges in the South African music industry or sector. She's currently, as I said, I didn't say. She's currently the General Manager for Legal Services at the South African Music Rights Organization, SAMRO. By the way, you know, there was a time I was on radio, Chola, and there was always trouble with SAMRO. Are things okay now? Okay, I just had to ask. And currently she's serving as chairperson of the Copyright Coalition of South Africa, an organization that is currently advocating for the copyright legislation that is fit for purpose for a South African context. I must tell you, I've known Chola now for about 3 months, and what I know about copyright in this industry is thanks to you. You've educated me a lot. Please come on stage and welcome us again.
Good morning, everyone. I will be brief. I think it's the beauty of coming after certain speakers. Lesiva, you are a public speaker wherever you are, so you don't have to worry about that. Thank you, Program Director. Mine is an easy task to welcome you and just give a brief, very brief overview of why we're here and what the expectations are for today and the dialogue today. I would like to thank our host, Arena/Sunday Times, for having us here today. Our partners, SIFSA as well, we've walked a long road together. Our sponsors for the day, the Southern African Music Rights Organization and the Independent Producers Organization. I'd like to also welcome the political parties present here. It should be a very interesting conversation, because I think for the first time in a long time, the culture and creative industries and what matters to them is being brought to the fore. We're usually treated as an afterthought, and I think for these elections it is critical that political parties understand the value of the CCIs and also understand that going forward in their planning and their promises to the country, they need to take the CCIs very seriously. So just welcome everybody, and I hope that we have a productive and fruitful engagement. I think just briefly, I wear many hats, but in terms of today, I am the chairperson of the Copyright Coalition of South Africa. We were formed in 2018 in response to the legislative processes surrounding the Copyright Amendment Bill, as there were serious problems in terms of the provisions that were introduced by Parliament to the bill, and just the general impact, the negative impact it would have on the CCIs broadly and generally. Because one of the issues that we do have is that the CCIs are treated like a monolithic sector. Everybody thinks, the first problem is that everybody thinks it's about artists and musicians. Those are the terms in which they talk. It's much broader than that. You have the music industry, which has several players. You've got your CMOs, you've got your publishers, you've got your record labels, you've got creatives, musicians themselves, you've got performers. So there is a wide range of players in each and every sector. You've got your book publishing sector, you've got your books in authors in there, you've got your audiovisual, film, television, you've got animation. So the CCIs are not a monolithic sector that you treat the same way. And the attitude towards the CCIs has been very much that you treat them in the same way, and that is now showing and has shown, like Lisiba said, there are multiple documents out there gathering dusts. There are master plans, there are white papers, green papers, whatever color they are. But in terms of actually implementing things that will benefit the CCIs and actually the growth of the South African economy, we're not seeing a lot of traction there. My colleagues have given you lots of stats for South Africa, for what's happening everywhere else in the world. In South Africa, as at the end of last year, the stats were that CCIs contribute 3% to the GDP. That's 1 million jobs, 6% of the jobs. And this is coming off the back of COVID. And we know the devastating impact that COVID had on this country, right? But the problem that we have with this country, and not just South Africa, but I think it's a general problem, but specifically South Africa, is because of the way the CCIs are viewed as an afterthought. They're not treated appropriately, and they're not providing with an enabling environment within which to thrive. They're not understood. There's no understanding of the basis upon which they operate. There's no understanding of the fact that intellectual property, particularly copyright, the bedrock upon which a lot of things happen within the CCIs. It's the basis upon which there's monetization. It's the basis upon